As a driving enthusiast, the Nissan Z will always hold a special place in my heart for its appealing blend of performance, style, handling, and of course, speed. Now, thankfully, last year, Nissan returned the Z to its glory here in America when they introduced an all-new 7th generation model. It's now just called the Nissan Z as opposed to the old 370Z, and because of that change, we now have a 400 horsepower, 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 under the hood, still have the availability of a manual transmission, and for 2024, we now have the introduction of a new high-performance Nismo version. So as you can see, this week, Nissan has loaned me this beautiful passion red Nissan Z Performance with the 6-speed manual transmission. And the big question I want to answer, if you guys are a driving enthusiast looking for a rear-wheel drive 2-seater sports car, is the all-new Z still worth a look? Stay tuned to find out. So the Nissan Z got a full redesign for 2023, and for 2024, there are essentially no styling changes, of course, save for the high-performance Nismo version. But I thought I'd first show you guys what's underneath the hood, because the Nissan Z got a huge power upgrade for 2023. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Nissan Infiniti engine family, you'll know this engine internally as the VR30 DDTT, which means we have a 3-liter twin-turbo direct injection V6 engine with up to 15 pounds of max boost pressure, delivering up to 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. That is a substantial increase of around 68 ponies compared to the previous 370Z, and we have about 80 more pound-feet of torque. So that's a massive jump, considering the fact that this new Z is only about 180 pounds heavier than the prior generation. Now, it all goes out through either a 6-speed manual like my test car with active rev matching, or a 9-speed automatic transmission that shares its design with the Mercedes 9-speed auto, but it's manufactured by Jatco, which is Nissan's transmission maker. Fuel economy for the manual is rated at 18 in the city, 24 on the highway. Nissan claims the manual should do 0 to 60 in the mid 4-second range. I got about 4.4 in my best 0 to 60 time with a proto spec last year. The automatic's gonna be the quickest option, giving you around 4 seconds 0 to 60. It has a top speed of around 155 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 3,500 pounds. Most of the extra weight, the extra 180 pounds or so, is over the front axle because of the heavier V6 engine. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, this car, even though it's been on the market for a year now, painted in this beautiful shade of passion red tri-coat two-tone. This is a $1,700 upcharge. I really like this color, like it a lot more versus that yellow that I had on the proto spec earlier or late last year. You can see the front end of this car is just retro, modern, done right. I love a lot of the lineage that you see to the original 240Z with the half-moon shaped full LED headlights. You can see LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams. Down here, you can see you have integrated parking sensors, no actual fake vents over here, which I kind of like, no fog lights, but then you have that really interesting square mouth, which Nissan did address on the Nismo version. Some of you either love it or you hate it. I personally have gotten used to it. You have the new Nissan logo here, and then you have this power bulge here for the hood to make room for that twin turbo V6. But overall, you can see the design of this car still looks great. It turns a lot of heads out on the road, even though it's only been out for a year. But Nissan also hasn't had a chance to sell very many because of production constraints. I think as of this filming, they only had Q1 sales, and it was around 1,300 units here in the US. Now, looking at the side profile here, its overall length of 172.5 inches is about 5.5 inches longer than the old Z. It has the same 100-inch long wheelbase. It's about the same size as its chief rival, the Toyota Supra. As you guys know, that's going to be the chief rival. And then you can see with the performance pack, you get these 19-inch Ray forged gray finished wheels, which are lightweight. They're super strong. You have upgraded 14-inch rotors at the front with Akebono twin piston calipers painted in red. The proto spec that I showed you last year had yellow painted calipers. You have a 255 with tire in the front, Bridgestone Potenza S007s. The rears are a little bit fatter, 275s, and you also have a limited slip differential. Now, in terms of the rest of the proportions, you can see you have that signature samurai blade over the roof line, and then I also really like the two-tone color combination. You can see you have a black roof, black mirrors, that samurai blade along the side also looks good. You have these door handles, which are pretty reminiscent of the old Z traditional door handle. There's a button on the back. The mirrors don't electrically fold, but they do have turn signals. And then, of course, you have this little Z badge here to show, play an homage to the original Z. And then this is really where I think Nissan got the Z's styling so right, and that's from the rear, because you see a lot of lineage here to the old 300ZX, which was my favorite generation of the Z. You can see it's just got a simple Z badge here. You have these really cool looking three-dimensional style full LED taillights with LED brake lights, LED turn signals. The exhaust system you can see kind of has the same sport exhaust finisher from the Q50 and Q60 Red Sport, although Nissan does offer an optional performance accessory exhaust that you can get from the dealer. I imagine the Nismo is going to sound even louder, but let's go ahead and fire this up. You can be reminded how the new Z sounds. And the sound is definitely nice. It just doesn't have the crackles and pops that I love in the new Supra or the V8 that you're gonna get from a Ford Mustang. Now, underneath the Nissan logo here, you can push that button, open up the trunk area, and you have just under 7 cubic feet of storage space. That's actually less than what you get in the Supra, but the Z's opening is much larger and it has more usable space. You can see there's that bar that adds strength to the overall platform, which, remember, this is still the FM platform, which is only around 11% stiffer. But you can see in terms of cargo space, there's no back seat, but you do have a fairly good amount of space. I could easily fit 2 21-inch roller bags in the trunk. So exterior-wise, the 2024 Z hasn't changed, but let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. Before we step inside, however, I want to show you guys the fob. You can see this is the old Nissan fob, which the company has been using for well over 2.5 decades. It is a nice size key, however, and you have your usual lock, unlock, and then panic function. There's no trunk release here, and then there's no remote start, although I believe Nissan offers it if you guys go for the automatic transmission models. Now you can see on this large door handle here, there's a button. You push that locks the door for you. To unlock it, there's no sensor in the back of this door handle. You have to push the button again. This vehicle also doesn't offer any kind of walk-away auto lock or unlock function. That's a feature that you find on so many other new vehicles. Now, I really love this color combination of my tester with the passion red tri-coat with the two-tone look, and then you have these red leather bucket seats. Now, the interior color is either black, blue, or this red. Nissan doesn't offer a brown or a beige interior, which I kind of wish they did, but you can see it looks really nice with the red exterior. The door panels, you can see, have a soft touch injection molded plastic, some suede Alcantara. This is a faux suede with the red accents. The door handles, you can see, are plastic, but they kind of have like this dark aluminum look. Air venters over here. You have one touch up down for both windows, and this door panel, a lot of you may recognize it from the previous generation because it's pretty similar. The performance trim also includes an 8-speaker Bose premium sound system. That's included when you go for this trim. And then the seats, you can see, they offer, I believe, 4 ways of power adjustment with 4 more ways of manual adjustment. So it's kind of a 2-tone combination. These are also heated seats. Sadly, Nissan doesn't offer cooled seats, which would be nice considering how hot it is right now in the middle of summertime here in the Pennsylvania area. But overall, the interior certainly makes a great first impression, but it also feels really familiar. Now, getting inside and shutting the door, this is built on the FM platform, and the door sound thunk could be a little bit more, more premium sounding to me. It sounds a little bit tinny, but again, it's an old platform that had some band-aids and updates made to it. But overall, you can see, start the vehicle up. You have a new digital 12.3-inch display, which is nice. That's also a customizable gauge display. Huge upgrade from the previous generation 370Z. And then if you guys go for the performance trim, you'll get this 9-inch infotainment system with Nissan Connect. It has Apple CarPlay, wireless Apple CarPlay. However, a wired connection for Android Auto. If you go for the base trim, you'll have a smaller 8-inch display. I haven't seen it. This is the 9-inch display, which I think looks pretty good. The dash materials, you can see, they're pretty nice. That has soft touch injection molded plastic. These 3 analog dials here look like they were taken directly off of the old 370Z. This little piece here is just plastic. It feels a little bit cheap and creaky, but down here you can see you have beautiful real leather stitching with the red leather. This is genuine stitching, real leather. You have 2 volume knobs here, or you have a volume knob and a tuning knob. You have your usual buttons over here. You have single zone automatic climate control, which again, these knobs look like they were taken off of the old Z. And then when you want to use the infotainment system here, the CarPlay function works really well. It's quick and snappy and responsive. You go back to the Nissan display. This is their latest head unit here, which is fine. It's relatively easy to use, although it's technically not the newest system that we've seen in something like the new Altima or the new Rogue, for example, or the new Pathfinder. But it is still a huge upgrade from the prior generation. Now down here you can see no wireless phone charging pad, but you do have two USB ports there, a USB-A and a USB-C. The manual transmission has their active rev match function, which you can turn on and off from here. You have a 6-speed, which has somewhat rubbery throws. They're a little bit longer than I would like. Reverse, you have to push down, go into reverse there. You can see there's the backup camera, which it's not high resolution or anything, but it does have trajectory and parking sensors, which is nice. You have 2 level heated seats, which again, old switchgear, cup holder here, and then you have an electronic, or you have a manual pull style handbrake, which will appeal to a lot of enthusiasts out there who want to do some drifting. You have a nice padded center console here. You can also slide this back, reveal another cup holder, and then if you push that, you can see that opens it up to reveal a pretty shallow storage compartment over here. But it's nice that Nissan still gives you that. You can see obviously no back seats back here, but you do have a little bit of a parcel where you can store packages. The seats are also pretty comfortable and supportive. They hold you in place nicely, but they also aren't too constricting for those of you who are a little bit of a wider frame. Just wish the seats were cooled. You can see your power seat controls are over here on the right side of the seat, which again, these were kind of taken directly off the old generation Nissan Z or Infiniti. So really would have liked to see Nissan kind of update that, but they didn't. You have nice materials over here on this center console area. You have a glove compartment, which is a bin style. It's damped but not lined with felt. It's a little bit on the small side. Auto dimming rear view mirror. Nissan doesn't offer any kind of digital camera rear view mirror. And then you do have features like blind spot information, and you can also get automatic emergency braking, which is going to be standard. So again, a lot of new modern tech features, but there's also a nice mixture of old in this vehicle. The steering wheel, you can see here, I forgot to mention, is manual tilt and telescoping. It doesn't offer much in terms of adjustability for the telescope, and you'll also get paddles on the wheel if you go for the automatic model. The horn sounds good. It doesn't sound tinny or anything, but I wish that the steering wheel had a flat bottom design with a thicker bolstering. I suspect maybe the Nismo version will kind of get an upgraded steering wheel, but overall the interior has a good amount of space. It has a good amount of new tech in it mixed with some old tech, and you can also see out of it really well, which is not something you can say about the Mustang or the Toyota Supra. So it's crazy to think that it's been a little over a year since Nissan first said that the all-new Z was going on sale in America, and our enthusiasts have been waiting a long time for a new version of the Z. I mean, as you guys know, this is an iconic sports car for Nissan and for the Japanese tuner community. And while I was hoping that Nissan would send me an automatic version to drive for a week to get more seat time in the auto, I'm not going to turn down, obviously, any time with a rear-wheel drive 6-speed manual sports coupe. Now, this manual isn't the best manual in the segment, and the Z in general has some room for the Nismo version, which is why we've got confirmation that the Nismo is coming. As of this filming, I have not seen the Nismo in person, but by the time this goes live, you guys will probably have seen my video on it, so be sure to click on the link in the description below so you can watch it. But the last time I was on this road with the Proto spec, I got 4.4 seconds was my best 0 to 60 time. This car does have launch control. It has a limited slip diff. Let's see what we can get here with the traction control off. We'll floor it. 4.82 seconds there. So that's actually the same time that I got on this same stretch of road with the Proto spec. Now keep in mind, this car does have launch control, and it allows you to kind of launch the vehicle by feathering the throttle out, or the clutch pedal out slowly when it has the revs at around 3,500 RPM. And surprisingly, for a rear-wheel drive car, this thing actually launches pretty well. You do get a sense that it gets a little bit tail happy. It'll step out from time to time if you're not careful, but you kind of have to trust the car won't kill you. Put your foot into it and it keeps going. These Bridgestone Potenza Summer S007 tires aren't the best in terms of grip. I probably would swap these out with Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires, but the engine has so much torque. It's just insane to me how powerful this thing is. When the boost kicks in, remember this has almost 15 pounds of boost, which I'm expecting the Nismo version to have even more power than this. I'm hoping around 420 at least minimum. 450 would be ideal. 500 horsepower would be a nice surprise. But again, there's a lot of boost pressure that Nissan can crank the boost up on this engine to give us more power. But still, a sub 5 second time, 4.5 seconds, is plenty fast for a vehicle like this. And even though it's not the quickest accelerating Z, you're gonna wanna go for the automatic version. That's probably the reason why there's a rumor, at least as of this filming, that the Nismo won't have a manual. We'll have confirmation of that once this video goes live, because this this manual transmission is great for enthusiasts and just getting that visceral feel. You get plenty of vibration through the seats, through the shifter, through the pedals, through the floors. It's not exactly the smoothest powertrain, although I will say it is smoother than the old VQ engine. But if you guys drive a brand new Supra with its BMW sourced engine, it's just so much more refined, and the Supra just feels more like a sports car. This car still leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the steering, in terms of the suspension, in terms of the chassis dynamics, in terms of the shifter. The suspension is just far too soft when you really start pushing this car past 8/10. The steering, while it is quick enough, I will say that it lacks feel and it lacks heft. And I think it could be a little bit faster. The Supra has even better steering than this car. In general, I just feel like I'm driving a car that's kind of old and new at the same time. That's kind of the first sense that I got when I drove the Z. It was kind of similar to that. This car does have like a no-lift shift function, which means you don't have to lift off the clutch to actually shift gears. That's how you're gonna get the quickest 0 to 60 time. And then the sound of this engine, I like the sound, but again, I'm hoping the Nismo version ups the ante in terms of the feel, in terms of the noise. Like, it's nothing like what you get in the Supra. There's no crackles, there's no bangs, there's no pops. It would be nice to get that kind of, upgrade for the Nismo version. But again, I'm just gonna show you a really quick launch. You just floor it, and it really just modulates the power nicely. And it will hit 60 in second gear, which is nice, so you don't have to shift into third. That, again, robs time. It robs the number from the 0 to 60 time. But this car is really all about the feel. That's the reason why you bought the manual. It's got an active rev matching function, which works pretty well. The limited slip differential helps put the power down. But again, I would love to see this car with even stickier Cup 2 tires or something like that. But the Nismo, from what I understand, has the Dunlop SP Sport Max tires, which are going to be stickier than this, but my recommendation is swap them out with some good Michelin high-performance tires. Now, when you drive this thing normally, the Z's manual is cumbersome. It doesn't like to be rushed through the gates. The clutch is on the heavier side. It engages toward the end of the travel. It's a relatively easy car to stall if you're not good at driving manual, so if you're trying to teach someone how to drive stick, the Z's probably not the best car to do it in. You're going to find more luck from something like a Miata or from a GR86. Visibility in this car is also pretty decent. You have a good view out of the front, the sides. The view out of the back also is actually better than the Supra. So visibility in this car and comfort is better than the Supra. That's where the Z excels. The seats also are pretty comfortable. I love this red interior. I took the Z on a longer trip, and for the most part, I found the seats to be acceptable. The ride quality is also acceptable. It's a relatively comfortable ride quality. Again, you can kind of credit Nissan for going with a softer suspension tune with this car, which I imagine the Nismo is going to be even harsher. I suspect it's going to probably hurt the ride quality even further. But throttle response is good. There is a little bit of noticeable turbo lag when you put your foot down. You can even see in the analog gauges when the turbo is on full boil at just under 15 psi at max boost pressure. I never get tired of that, though. This is a really fun car to drive. I mean, I would love to take this car on a track on weekends. I did get a chance to drive this car on a track when I was at the first drive in Las Vegas, and it did a pretty good job, actually. It's a fun, lightweight feeling sports car that also, kind of shows you that the chassis could be stiffer. I mean, Nissan said that when they redesigned this vehicle, it's about 80% new in terms of the chassis and how many things they changed, but torsional rigidity was only up by a meager 11%. And you kind of notice that this car feels a little bit too softly sprung. It doesn't feel like a pure sports car when you really start pushing it hard. But again, I suspect Nissan did that on purpose because they knew that the Nismo would solve that. But I do love the active rev matching function. I love the playfulness of this car. I love the acceleration. I love the sound of the engine on full boil. It just doesn't have the crackles and pops that I would like to see as well. But overall, for a car that starts at under $40,000 for the base version, for 400 horsepower, it is a lot of power for the money. Now, granted, you could get the new Mustang GT as well, the redesigned model. The GT starts at around 42 grand, but keep in mind, Ford charges so much extra for options and premium tech features that you can easily option up a Mustang to be over 60 grand. But in reality, I mean, this car, it competes with the Mustang, but it's a significantly smaller vehicle, and it also doesn't have a back seat. In terms of fuel economy, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 18 miles to the gallon in mostly city driving. On the highway, it got around 23 324-ish mpg, so the EPA number is bang on there. The Nissan VR motor isn't exactly the most fuel efficient engine, but that's not really the point of a vehicle like this. The automatic, however, will get you better gas mileage. But overall, the Z, the 2024 model, no changes to the regular one. The Nismo, however, is going to appeal to those of you who want something a little bit more harder edge. But my recommendation, if you guys are looking in this class and you're comparing it to the Supra and the new Mustang, which I hadn't had a chance to drive yet as of this video, there's a lot of new competition out there, and it's kind of crazy to think that even though the world is going toward electrification and self-driving vehicles, there has still never really been a better time to get a rear-wheel drive manual transmission 2-seat sports car. So after spending a week with the brand new 2024 Nissan Z, I have to say, if you guys have been waiting a long time for Nissan to give us an all-new generation of the Z, I can happily say that this was worth the wait. It has the extra power that enthusiasts have been asking for. It has some great tech features here with Nissan's latest 9-inch infotainment system. It also has a comfortable and usable interior that has a decent amount of space for two people and, of course, their stuff. Really, where the Z falls short here is when you start really pushing this vehicle hard on a track or on your favorite back road. When you start pushing it past 8/10, you're going to notice the suspension is too soft, the steering is too numb, the shifter is a little bit rubbery and truckish and imprecise, but that's kind of where it leaves something to be desired for the new Nismo Z to come in and fix all of those issues. I suspect the new Nismo, which I haven't driven or seen in person as of this filming, probably is going to also have a harsher ride quality, but for those of you who are looking for the most track-oriented version of the new Z, they can go head-to-head, of course, with track package-equipped Mustang GTs and, of course, the GR Supra. That's where the Nismo is going to come into place. Now, thankfully, what's wonderful about the new Z, if you can get your hands on one of these vehicles, which they're still a little bit hard to find at your local dealerships, is the pricing, because you get that 400 horsepower, 3-liter twin-turbo V6 standard at under $40,000. Now, as of this filming, I don't have final pricing yet of the 2024 model, so I'm just going to use pricing of the 2023 model, which starts at just under 40 grand for the base Sport. Most of you are probably going to go for the performance trim for $10,000. That's going to add the 19-inch raised wheels, the upgraded brakes, the upgraded suspension, the limited slip differential, the leather on the inside, the larger 9-inch screen. It's a big amount of upgrades for $10,000. So my tester here, of course, with that package, or with the performance package and the $1,700 for the color, $400 for the interior lighting upgrade, this one here comes into just over $54,000 and some change with destination. Now, of course, that is certainly a fairly good amount of money. You could also get a GR Supra for the same price with the 3-liter twin turbo or the single turbo inline 6. However, keep in mind that the base and the Z is cheaper than the Supra by about $4,000. And you could also get a new Mustang that starts at around $30,000 for the base premium. However, really this car is going to compete more with the Mustang GT, which starts at $42,000. So technically the Z is still cheaper. Keep in mind also, if you get a fully loaded version of the Mustang, that can be around $60,000, but you also can get a base GT Mustang for around $52,000. So that's around the same price. Honestly, without having driven the Mustang, I would probably say that the Mustang would be a better overall car to live with on a daily basis because it has more space, but this car still is one of the best looking new modern cars out there, especially with its retro inspired styling. You just won't find a vehicle that turns as many heads as the Z, especially for this money, that gives you this kind of performance. Well, with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Nissan Z. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.